Life's hard, and one of the hardest truths we all have to face is this: no one gives a shit about you. That's right, no one's out here worrying about your struggles, your dreams, or failures. And you know what? That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a wake-up call, a reminder that if you want something in this world, you've got to go out there and take it. You can't sit around waiting for someone else to do it for you. You've got to be your own biggest supporter, your own motivator, your own hero. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there are people in your life who care about you, your family, your friends, maybe even a mentor or two. But here's the thing. No one's thinking about you as you think they are. Everyone's caught up in their own lives, dealing with their own problems, chasing their own dreams. And when push comes to shove, you're the one who's going to have to fight for your success. You're the one who's going to have to pick yourself up when you fall. Because at the end of the day, the world keeps spinning, whether you're on top or flat on your face. So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you because too many people are out here waiting for validation. They're waiting for someone to notice them, waiting for someone to pat them on the back and say, good job. They're waiting for someone else to give them permission to chase their dreams. Let me tell you something, if you're waiting for the world to give a shit about you, you're going to be waiting a long time. The world doesn't owe you anything, and neither does anybody else. You've got to stop looking for approval, stop seeking permission, and start doing what you need to do to make things happen for yourself. You see, too often we waste our time worrying about what other people think of us. We get caught up in trying to impress people who probably aren't even paying attention. We post pictures online, share our achievements, and wait for those likes, those comments, that little bit of validation. But what does that do for you, really? Does it push you closer to your goals? Does it make you a better person? No, it doesn't. It just keeps you stuck in a cycle of seeking approval from people who, at the end of the day, don't really care. And if you're always waiting for someone to give you a round of applause, you're going to miss out on the real work that needs to be done. Let me tell you something about life. It's not designed to be easy. Nobody's going to hand you success, and nobody's going to walk your journey for you. You've got to be willing to put in the work when no one's watching, when there's no applause, no pat on the back, and no recognition. That's the hard truth. There's no audience when you're grinding at midnight or waking up at 5 a.m. to chase your goals. It's just you and the grind, but that's when the magic happens. That's where the real progress is made. Not when people are cheering you on, but when you're in the trenches doing the work that no one sees. It's easy to keep going when you've got the support, when everyone's hyping you up, when people are telling you you're doing great. But what about when that noise dies down? What about when it feels like you're out here on your own? You've got to ask yourself, can you keep going when there's no applause? Can you keep pushing when it feels like nobody's paying attention? Because that's where champions are made. When nobody's looking, when nobody's clapping for you, can you stay hungry, stay driven when it feels like the world has forgotten about you? That's the test. Anyone can grind when the spotlight's on them, but the ones who really succeed, the ones who make it, they're the ones who keep working when it's dark, when it's quiet, when it feels like nobody's even watching. And I'll tell you this, even when it feels like no one cares, you still got yourself. You've got to understand that you're never really alone. You've got you. And let me tell you, that's enough. You've got to learn to be enough for yourself. You've got to learn to clap for yourself when no one else is clapping. You've got to be your own biggest supporter, your own motivator, your own inspiration. Because here's the deal, nobody else is going to do that for you. Stop waiting for someone to come along and save you. That person doesn't exist. The only person who can pull you out of your struggles, the only person who can push you to succeed is you. You are your own hero, your own rescue. Now, let me tell you something else. Every time you try to do something big, every time you step out of your comfort zone, every time you chase a dream, there's going to be someone who doesn't believe in you. Somebody's going to doubt you. Somebody's going to think you're wasting your time. Somebody's going to tell you that you're not good enough. And that's just how it is. People are always going to have something to say. But here's the kicker. Their opinions don't matter. They don't define you. Too many people let the opinions of others hold them back. They're so worried about what someone else is going to think, so scared of being judged that they don't even take that first step. They don't chase that dream. They don't take that leap because they're too caught up in what other people are going to say. But let me ask you this, why do you care so much about the opinions of people who aren't walking your path? Why do you let the doubts of others control your destiny? Those people don't know your journey. They don't know your struggle. And they sure don't know your potential. So why give their opinion so much power? Here's the truth. The people who doubt you, the people who don't believe in you, they're just noise. Background noise. And you can't let that noise drown out your inner voice that knows what you're capable of. The voice that believes in you, even when the world doesn't. You can't let the doubts of others become your own doubts. You've got to push forward regardless of what anyone else thinks. Let me tell you something about fear. Fear is a liar. Fear will have you believing that you're not enough, that you can't do it, that you're going to fail. Fear will paralyze you if you let it. But you've got to learn to move through fear. You've got to learn to take that fear and use it as fuel. Use it to push you forward, not hold you back. Everybody's scared. Everybody has doubts. But the difference between those who make it and those who don't. The ones who make it learn how to act spite of fear. They learn how to move forward, even when they're scared. Because here's the truth. Fear isn't going anywhere. It's always going to be there, whispering in your ear, telling you that you can't. But you've got to be louder. You've got to shut that fear down with action. And listen, failure is part of the process. You can't let the fear of failure stop you from trying. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's a stepping stone to success. Every time you fail, you learn. Every time you stumble, you get back up a little bit stronger, a little bit wiser. So don't be afraid to fail. Be afraid of not trying at all. Be afraid of waking up one day and realizing that you let your fear hold you back from achieving everything you were meant to achieve. That's the real failure. You've got to keep pushing, even when it feels like you're alone in this. Because here's the thing, you're never really alone. You've got your goals, you've got your dreams, and most importantly, you've got yourself. And that's enough. You've got to learn to be enough for yourself. You don't need anyone else's approval, anyone else's permission. You've got everything you need inside of you. But you've got to believe that. You've got to have faith in yourself, even when no one else does. And let me tell you something about the hustle. It's not glamorous. It's not easy. There are going to be days when you're exhausted, when you're frustrated, when you feel like quitting. There are going to be times when you question whether it's all worth it. But those are the moments that separate the winners from the losers. Those are the moments that define you. Can you keep going when everything inside of you is telling you to stop? Can you keep pushing when it feels like nothing is working? That's the real test. That's where champions are made. You've got to be willing to do the work when nobody's watching, when there's no one to pat you on the back, when there's no recognition, because that's when the real progress is made. It's easy to work hard when people are watching, when people are clapping for you, when you've got a crowd cheering you on. But can you keep grinding when it's just you and the struggle? Can you stay focused when the world seems to have forgotten about you? because that's when the real growth happens. That's when you're building the foundation for your success. You've got to learn to love the grind. You've got to learn to love the process, even when it's tough, even when it's lonely, because that's what separates the great from the good, the great ones that keep going no matter what. They don't need the applause. They don't need the validation. They're driven by something deeper. They're driven by their own desire to be better, to do more, to achieve greatness. And that's what you've got to find within yourself. That drive, that hunger, that determination to keep going, even when it feels like the world doesn't care. And let me tell you this, when you make it, when you finally achieve the success you've been working for, nobody's going to ask you how many times you failed. Nobody's going to care about the struggles you went through, the obstacles you had to overcome. They're only going to see the result. They're only going to see the success. And that's fine, because you didn't do it for them anyway. You did it for you. You put in the work, you stayed the course, and you made it happen. And that's what matters. So stop waiting for someone else to put in the work for you, because that's not going to happen. Stop waiting for someone to come along and give you a handout, because that's not going to happen either. You've got to be willing to do the work, to grind, to hustle, even when it feels like no one else cares. Because at the end of the day, the only person who can make your dreams a reality is you. And don't get discouraged when it feels like no one's noticing. Don't get discouraged when it feels like no one cares, because you've got to care enough for yourself. You've got to be willing to push forward, even when it feels like you're in it all alone. You've got to be willing to keep going, even when the world seems to have forgotten about you. Because here's the truth, you've still got you. And that's enough. So keep grinding, keep hustling. Keep doing the work even when no one's watching. Because that's when real progress is made. That's when champions are born. You got to be willing to put in the work when no one's watching, when there's no audience, when there's no recognition. And if you can do that, if you can keep going when it feels like you're all alone, then there's nothing that could stop you. Because at the end of the day, the only person who can make it happen for you is you. But let me ask you something. Why do you let the opinions of people who don't even matter to you get in the way of your dreams? Think about it. If those people don't care about you, if they don't have a stake in your future, why are you giving their opinions power over your destiny? You're letting someone who isn't walking your path dictate the direction of your life. That doesn't make any sense. The truth is, those people who doubt you, who don't believe in you, who think you're wasting your time, they're just background noise. And you know what happens when you focus too much on the noise? You lose track of your own inner voice, the voice that knows exactly what you're capable of. That voice inside of you, the one that tells you to keep going, to keep pushing forward, even when the world seems to be holding you back, that's the voice you need to listen to. Because that voice knows the real you. That voice knows your potential, knows your dreams, knows what you can achieve. But too many people let the outside noise drown out that voice. They get caught up in what other people think, in what other people say, and they start doubting themselves. And that's the biggest mistake you can make, doubting yourself because of someone else's limited perspective. Now, I know some of you are thinking, but Denzel, I've got people in my life who care about me. I've got people who support me, who believe in me. And that's a beautiful thing. Having people in your corner, having people who've got your back, that's a blessing. But even those people, even the ones who love you, can't live your life for you. They can't fight your battles. They can't chase your dreams. At the end of the day, no one can walk your path but you. No matter how much someone loves you, they can't want your success more than you do. You've got to understand something. It doesn't matter how much support you have, how many people believe in you. If you're not willing to believe in yourself, you're not going anywhere. It's like waiting for someone to give you a push when you should be running full speed ahead on your own. And if you spend your life waiting for someone to push you, you're going to find yourself standing still while the world passes you by. Life's not going to wait for you to get it together. Life's not going to hold your hand and guide you to the hope success. The world's not going to roll out a red carpet for you just because you've got dreams and ambitions. You've got to be willing to fight for it. You've got to be willing to get up every single day and push forward, even when it feels like everything is stacked against you. Because that's the reality. You're going to face obstacles. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to fail sometimes. But here's the end of the road. It's just a part of the journey. Think about every great achievement in history. Think about the people who've changed the world, the people who've reached the highest levels of success. Do you think they got there without facing failure? Do you think they never had moments of doubt, moments when they questioned whether they could actually make it? Of course they did. But the difference between them and the people who gave up is that they kept going. They got knocked down, but they didn't stay down. They got back up and kept pushing forward, no matter how many times they failed. You've got to have the courage to do the same. You've got to have the courage to keep moving forward, even when it feels like the whole world is against you. You've got to trust in yourself, trust in your vision, trust in your ability to happen, because nobody else is going to do it for you. Nobody's going to hand you success on a silver platter. If you want something in this life, you've got to be willing to go out there and take it. You've got to be willing to fight for it. You've got to be willing to put in the work day in and day out, even if it feels like nobody's watching, even when it feels like nobody cares. And that's another thing. Stop looking for validation from other people. Too many of us waste time waiting for someone else to tell us we're good enough, waiting for someone else to recognize our potential, waiting for someone else to give us permission to chase our dreams. But here's the truth. Nobody's going to give you that validation. Nobody's going to hand you that permission. You've got to give it to yourself. You've got to look in the mirror and tell yourself, I'm good enough. I've got what it takes. I'm going after what's mine. And let me tell you something else. People's opinions change. One day they might think you're wasting your time, and the next they're singing your praises. You can't live your life based on the changing opinions of others. You've got to be steady. You've got to be grounded in your own truth. You've got to be so focused on your vision, so determined to achieve your goals, that nothing and no one can shake you. Because at the end of the day, the only opinion that matters is yours. The only person who can define your worth, your success, your destiny is you. But here's the problem. Too many of us are afraid of failure. We're so scared of making mistakes, so scared of falling short, that we don't even try. We'd rather stay in our comfort zones where it's safe, where we can avoid the risk of failure. But let me tell you something, if you're not willing to fail, you're not ready to succeed. You've got to be willing to take risks. You've got to be willing to step outside of your comfort zone, to do things that scare you, to face the possibility of failure head on, because that's where growth happens. That's where success is born, in the moments when you're scared, but you do it anyway. In the moments when you take a leap of faith and trust that you'll land on your feet. I know it's hard. I know it's tough to keep going when you feel like you're not making any progress, when it feels like nobody's noticing your efforts, when it feels like the whole world is against you. But that's exactly when you need to dig deep. That's exactly when you need to push harder, to believe in yourself more, to keep moving forward with everything you've got. Because those are the moments that build character. Those are the moments that make you stronger, that prepare you for the success that's coming. And let me tell you, this success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who work for it, who grind for it, who are willing to do whatever it takes to achieve their goals. You've got to have that fire inside of you, that I drive the drawing, no matter how tough it gets. Because it's going to get tough. There's no way around that. But the people who succeed are the ones who don't let the tough times stop them. They use the tough times as fuel. They let the challenges, the setbacks, the failures drive them forward. They learn from every mistake. They grow from every failure. And they keep pushing until they reach their destination. So stop waiting for someone else to give you permission to chase your dreams. Stop waiting for someone else to believe in you. Stop waiting for someone else to validate your worth. You don't need any of that. All you need is within you. You got everything it takes to be successful, to achieve your goals, to live the life you've always dreamed of. But you've got to believe in yourself. You've got to have the courage to take that first step, to keep moving forward, even when it feels like the world is against you. And remember this, every step you take, every move you make is bringing you closer to your dreams. Even when it feels like you're not making progress, even when it feels like you're stuck, you're still moving forward. As long as you keep going, as long as you don't give up, you're going to get there. Success is not about how fast you get there. It's about the persistence, the dedication, the willingness to keep going, no matter how many times you get knocked down. So the next time you find yourself doubting whether you can make it, the next time you let someone else's opinion hold you back, remember this: you are in control of your destiny. Nobody else. Not the doubters, not the critics, not the people who don't believe in you. You are the one who gets to decide whether or not you succeed. You are the one who gets to decide how far you go. So stop letting the noise of the world distract you from your purpose. Tune out the doubters, silence the critics, and listen to that inner voice, the one that knows exactly what you're capable of. Because that voice is telling you to keep going. That voice is telling you that you've got what it takes. That voice is telling you that your dreams are within reach if you're willing to fight for them. So fight. Fight for your dreams. Fight for your success. And never, ever let anyone tell you that you're not good enough. And here's the thing: when you stop worrying about whether or not people care, you free yourself in a way that's hard to describe until you've actually done it. You liberate yourself from the chains of needing approval. You cut yourself loose from that fear of judgment, that fear of rejection, and what you find is a whole new world of possibilities. You realize that all that worrying, all that stressing over what others think was holding you back. It was slowing you down, stunning your growth, and keeping you from being the person you were meant to be. When you finally let go of that need for outside validation, that's when you really start to live. See, the moment you stop caring about whether or not people give a shit about you is the moment you start living for yourself. You start living for your dreams, your passions, your purpose. And that's when the magic happens. That's when everything changes. You start making decisions not based on what others think, but on what feels right for you. You start taking risks, big risks, because you're not afraid of failing in front of an audience. You're not scared of people's whispers, their opinions, their judgments, because you've come to understand that none of that matters. I'm telling you, the minute you stop seeking validation from the outside world, you'll discover a strength inside of you that you didn't even know you had. A strength that's been lying dormant, waiting for you to stop looking outside for answers and start looking within. And once you find that strength, you'll realize that you don't need anyone to tell you you're good enough. You don't need anyone to give you permission to chase your dreams. You don't need anyone to co-sign your greatness because greatness has been inside you all along. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not going to be easy. Nothing worthwhile ever is. There are going to be days when you want to throw in the towel. Days when it feels like the world is pushing back against you with everything it's got. Days when you feel completely and utterly alone, like no one's in your corner. And that's tough, man. That's tough to deal with. But here's the truth. Those are the moments that define you. Those are the moments that separate the people who say they want success from the people who actually go out and get it. Because let me tell you something, success doesn't come to those who wait around hoping someone else will care. Success comes to those who hustle, who grind, who push themselves to the limit, even when it feels like no one's watching, even when it feels like no one cares. That's the real test. Can you keep going when there's no applause? Can you keep pushing when there's no one around to pat you on the back? No one to tell you good job? Because if you can, that's when you know you're doing it for the right reasons. You're not doing it for validation, for approval, for recognition. You're doing it because it's who you are. You're doing it because it's in your blood, in your soul, and nothing can stop you from chasing it. Stop waiting for the world to give a shit about you and start giving a shit about yourself. Start putting yourself first. Start believing that you're worth the effort, that your dreams are worth the grind, that your purpose is worth the sacrifices. Because when you do that, when you finally start to believe in yourself, everything changes. You stop waiting for someone to notice you, and you start making moves that demand attention. You stop hoping for validation, and you start living your truth with such confidence and conviction that the world has no choice but to take notice. But here's the thing. Even when the world does start paying attention, even when people finally start to see what you're capable of, it still won't matter as much as you think. Because by then you'll have realized that their approval was never the point. You'll have realized that the only validation you ever really needed was your own. And that's a powerful place to be. When you reach that point, when you truly understand that you don't need anyone else to believe in you, as long as you believe in yourself, you become unstoppable. You become fearless. You become the kind of person who can walk into any room, face any challenge, and know without a shadow of a doubt that you've got what it takes to succeed. And let me tell you something, not everybody's going to get it. Not everybody's going to understand your journey, and that's okay. You don't owe anybody an explanation for why you do what you do. You don't need to justify your dreams to people who don't have the same vision as you. Some people will try to tear you down to make you feel small, to discourage you from going after what you want. But that's their problem, not yours. You can't let other people's insecurities dictate your life. You can't let their doubts become your doubts. The moment you stop giving a shit about what other people think, you take back control of your life. You start making decisions based on what's best for you, not based on what will make other people comfortable. And that's a game changer. That's when you start to realize just how much potential you've been holding back. Just how much you've been playing small because you were worried about what other people might say. Look, you've got one life, one shot at this thing. You can't waste it worrying about what other people think. You can't spend your days trying to fit into someone else's idea of who you should be. You've got to be bold enough to define yourself, to carve out your own path, and to walk it with your head held high, no matter who's watching, no matter who approves, no matter who's clapping for you. Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, the only person you're accountable to is yourself. The only person who can say whether or not you gave it your all, whether or not you lived up to your potential, is you. So stop waiting for the world to care. Stop waiting for someone else to give you permission to be great. Stop looking for validation in places where you're never going to find it. And start living for yourself. Start chasing your dreams with everything you've got, not because you need someone else to notice, but because it's what you were born to do. I know it's not easy. I know the temptation to seek approval is real. We all want to be liked. We all want to be accepted. But the price you pay for that approval is too high. If you spend your life trying to make other people happy, trying to fit into a mold that wasn't made for you, you'll never be truly happy. You'll never be truly fulfilled. Because you'll always be living someone else's life, not your own. So let me ask you this, whose life are you living right now? Are you living for yourself, or are you living for other people? Are you chasing your own dreams, or are you chasing someone else's idea of success? Are you making moves based on what feels right for you, or are you making decisions based on what you think will make other people happy? These are tough questions, but they're important. Because if you're living for anyone other than yourself, you're not really living. You're just existing. You're going through the motions, trying to check all the boxes, trying to meet all the expectations, but you're not truly alive. And that's no way to live. You deserve more than that. You deserve to live a life that excites you, that challenges you, that pushes you to grow and evolve and become the best version of yourself. You deserve to wake up every day with a sense of purpose, with a fire in your belly, with the knowledge that you're doing exactly what you were meant to do. And the only way to get there is to stop caring about what other people think and start living for yourself. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight. It's a process. It takes time to unlearn the habit of seeking validation, to let go of the need for approval. But every step you take in that direction is a step toward freedom. Every time you choose yourself over someone else's opinion, you get a little bit stronger, a little bit bolder, a little bit more confident in who you are and what you're capable of. And before you know it, you'll look back and realize that the opinions of others no longer have any power over you. You'll realize that you've been living for yourself all along. And that's the greatest gift you could ever give yourself. You'll realize that the only validation you ever needed was your own. And that's the moment when everything changes. So stop waiting for the world to give a shit about you and start giving a shit about yourself. Stop waiting for permission to be great and start living in your greatness right now, because you've got it in you. You've had it all along. Now it's time to own it. This life is yours to live, and you only get one shot. Don't waste it worrying about whether or not people care. Don't waste it seeking approval from people who aren't even thinking about you. Go out there and make something happen for yourself. Fight for your dreams, hustle for your goals, and don't stop until you get there. And when you do, when you've made it, you won't need anyone to tell you that you're great. You already know it. Because you did it, not for them, but for you.